things ever captured on Google Maps.
Endless supply of oddities. But before Google Maps and its Street View function came into being, many of these oddities went unnoticed by the majority of us. But now that Google has mapped out a considerable chunk of planet Earth for our viewing pleasure, all of that glorious and often shocking weirdness is on display for everybody to see. So without further ado, let's zoom right in.
Let's go.
When it comes to Google Maps oddities, there's no better place to start than Sampsonia Lane in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. This street laid out an impressive coordinated effort in 2008 for the Street View team in one of Google's first rounds of snapshots. For starters, there's this mad scientist creating the world's first functional web
look
beam.
at him.
A little further down the street, there's a parade in full swing, complete with confetti. A few steps further reveals an escape attempt from a third-floor window, though the motivation for the humorous escape remains unknown over a decade later. Maybe they just really wanted a selfie with a Google car? These types of shenanigans are more difficult to plan nowadays, as publicly released Street View patrol schedules are much less specific now. But if anything, that only makes this street all the more magnificent.
Yeah.
Flying over to Connecticut now, where Google witnessed two men bravely recreating William Tell's famous shooting the apple off the head trick. If you're concerned about the outcome of this situation, don't worry. When media outlets tracked him down after his humorous stunt went viral, the archer confirmed that no arrow was actually fired. The French just spotted the Google car in their street and quickly came up with the perfect scenario. What a couple of straight shooters.
Oh my god, they saw the Google.
But Google Maps discoveries aren't all fun and games. In Sherwood, Arkansas, the Google car captured an ongoing house fire, as well as the firefighters putting it out. Worth checking out if you have a burning curiosity. Likewise, Google captured...
Get out! Thank you for the follow, Jesse. So much for the resub. Oh my god, like... Cringe!
This burning van in Rio de Janeiro in 2010. The curious onlooker seemed just as baffled by the act of apparent arson, especially this topless fellow who seems to be saying, "Oh, come on, not again." Peak Street View weirdness can be found, not all that surprisingly, in Tokyo, in the form of these pigeon people at the Tamagawa Aqueduct Greenway.
Creepy,
While the bird people posed no Godzilla-level threat to civilization, the truth was even worse. They were a group of, internet fame-hungry bloggers. In Victoria, British Columbia, an animal masked person of a different species can be found. The absurdity is dialed up to 11 here as the peculiar fellow chills by the side of the road with his banana in hand, surrounded by plastic flamingos. Nothing wrong with a little horseplay.
Horseplay.
Another intriguing creature appearing in Google's own data center is the little yellow man from the Street View icon himself. We once assumed he was just a digital icon, but he appears to be on the payroll. But the yellow fellow, known as Pegman, isn't the only Street View character. If you stray too close to Area 51 in real life, you could get shot by the US government. But if you approach on Google Maps, the yellow guy gets his own little spaceship. Likewise, if you head over to Buckingham Palace in England, he turns into a mini Queen Elizabeth II. He turns into a merman if you hover your mouse over Hawaii. And at Loch Ness, he turns into the Loch Ness Monster, finally proving Nessie is real, albeit in digital form. But while Nessie is notoriously hard to find, she's nothing compared to finding where you parked your fishing boat at this harbor in Morris.
No way. All of these are boats? How the hell boats who are like parked here, like literally here, go out?
Mauritania. The harbor is overcrowded to bursting point and looks more like a petri dish than a place of commerce. It's a wonder there are any fish left in the sea once the day's over.
Yeah.
A conversely sparse and notably odd top-down view can be found in California's Mojave Desert. These fully mapped roads were built in the 50s as part of the planned development of a town named California City. But the desert environs and economic woes stifled development, leaving many of the roads utterly devoid of buildings or infrastructure, save for a prison. Though the town's southwestern sections are slowly growing, most of those empty roadways are unlikely to be filled anytime soon.
Yeah.
Other arid regions harbor even more eyebrow-raising sights, like this incoming dust storm captured in Sudan, kicked up by desert winds. This shocked onlooker's face sums up the I know I'd be feeling with that apocalyptic dust cloud heading my way, although I'd probably be safely inside by now. The power of nature can also be seen at this incredibly remote location, Antarctica. Explorer Robert Scott's hut, located on the shore of Ross Island,
Wait, isn't that from that movie on Netflix?
was built 109 years ago by the British Antarctic Expedition and is fully explorable today, remarkably
so
well
cool.
preserved by the cold. Countless fascinating artifacts from the ill-fated expedition can be seen, from their beds and gas lamps to a frozen penguin, which was presumably on the dinner menu. A street view location of almost equal solitude is Hiroshima Island, 9 miles off the coast of Japan. The offshore mining facility
But
was
that's
once home to over 5,000 residents before its abandonment in the 70s, and now stands as one of the world's eeriest locations. You can click your way through the desolate streets and see the concrete buildings slowly being reclaimed by nature. Though parts of the island are open for visitors in real life, sticking to Google's version seems wiser. After all, ghosts can't follow you home through your computer, right?
I don't know, but the way he said is
location that
scary.
can be explored virtually on Street View is Nagoro Dal Village. With streets lined with creepy humanoids, you can see where the name comes from. But the backstory is even creepier. The village originally had 300 inhabitants, but with a decline in Japan's population, as of 2019, it only had 27. But a woman named Tsukimi Ayano began repopulating the village in the 2000s with dolls.
Yeah. Nothing creepy about that. You just, from loneliness, you start going crazy and...
She initially created a doll to resemble her dead father and soon began fashioning more. She's since crafted over 400, which now stand in all sorts of poses, many of which represent actual residents who've now passed on.
I thought he was peeing. I thought that old woman made a doll of a guy peeing.
The new inhabitants may be a little creepy, but at least
He's
they're
a
quiet.
fisherman, guys. He's fishing. He's not peeing.
One of the eeriest things you can do on Google Maps, though, is
Nasty.
time travel.
Naughty,
Changing
guys.
the image capture date in a location like Joplin, Missouri, for instance, reveals a startling before and after comparison of a hurricane that devastated the town. Houses that cheerfully lined the street in 2007 simply no longer exist when you jump forward to 2012. The barren wasteland certainly brings chills and a notable hint of sadness by making the natural disaster's impact happen at the click of a button. On to less depressing locations now, to Argentina, where the Google car itself appears responsible for some captured shenanigans. Moving along the street reveals a drink-laden truck pulling out ahead of the driver,
saw
which,
this. It
by
falls
the time
down.
we reach the next
Then you
snapshot,
go
has had his goods knocked all over the road.
Guys, I watched one time, like, I was reacting to Reddit memes and stuff like that, and then I saw that picture, yeah.
Which, by the time we
Poor
reach the next
guy.
snapshot, has had his goods knocked all over
He
the head of
had
the
no clue what's happening. He had no idea what's waiting. Not knowing the future is fun.
driver, which,
God
by
has
the
so
time
much
we
fun.
reach the next snapshot, has had his goods knocked all over the road. Whether the Google driver caused the disaster or the truck driver simply took the corner too fast is unclear. All we know is that Google's man on the ground didn't stick around to help, instead driving right over the spilled stock and getting the hell out of Dodge.
He just left.
While that little accident went unpunished, other locations see Google drivers being stopped by police. This unfortunate Street View driver was captured being pulled over by the Polish Border Patrol near Belarus, which isn't all that surprising considering Google Street View is banned by the Belarusian government in much of the country. Heading a mere 2 miles further east could have meant a whole lot of trouble for that driver, so the presence of these green cop cars was probably for the best. Soaring over to Hungary now, we find this man caught at a rather unfortunate moment. In an interview with a local newspaper, the cyclist revealed he fell off his bike on his way home after a few too many drinks at a party. Thankfully, Google has now blurred him out, allegedly for privacy reasons, but in this case, I'd like to think it was to save him further embarrassment.
I wish
This
it was
man
blurred.
in Rotorua, New Zealand, meanwhile, doesn't require any blurring, because his face is already hidden behind the Darth Vader mask he opted to wear on Garbage Day. For some reason, though, Google blurred him anyway, presumably to keep the Sith Lord's retirement location a secret. Sporting a comfortable-looking robe and slippers, it seems Vader's golden years
that?
are less
He looks
destroy
like,
all Jedis and more
Rick.
Real Housewives. In Birmingham,
Maybe
England,
another
more evidence
universe
of
where
fictional
he's
characters being
Darth
real can be
Vader.
found, with several of
Darth Vader.
Scooby-Doo's mystery machines parked up outside a house.
Oh my
Either this is the home of the mystery-loving pooch's biggest fans, or Birmingham is a hotspot for ghosts, ghouls, and men in masks.
Oh man, man, I want to know more about this.
Asks. Well, that or he's taking on the Peaky
Scooby-Doo.
Blinders. Moving on to a different type of costume caper now with this orange jumpsuit wearing jogger.
It's a prisoner who's running free. It's a prisoner. Google.
Spotted in Carletonville, South Africa,
middle of
many
nowhere.
web detectives were convinced the man was an escaped prisoner who ended up on Street View
Exactly.
after busting out of jail. But judging by the CWF printed on his back, which was likely an abbreviation of Carletonville Workforce, keen-eyed Redditors deduced that the fellow was probably just in work uniform. Others continued to look around the town and found him again, and I'm not sure what an escaped convict would be doing helping people cut trees in their yards, but who knows, maybe that's exactly what he wants us to think. Another Redditor made the ground-shattering discovery of an unexploded missile in Donetsk Oblast, Ukraine. It's likely left over from the Second Battle of Donetsk Airport that took place in 2014. As you can tell from the devastated surroundings, most of the other missiles fired during the battle did explode as intended.
Wow.
With that in mind, I can't help thinking this group shouldn't be standing so close to the device.
Bro, it can still explode, right? It still can explode. Any day, anytime. Right? What crazy asses are
Staying with the
these?
theme of devastated locations, it doesn't get much worse than Chernobyl. But amazingly, the radiation-cursed town is available in Street View with its abandoned buildings, overgrown streets,
Wow,
old
this actually,
Soviet
it's
plazas,
cool.
and
Like, it's
desolate
gloomy,
playgrounds.
scary, but it's so
creepiest of all
cool.
is
It's
this
like a Stranger
long-abandoned
Things
classroom
thing.
full of gas masks
Look at all of these gas.
left behind in a hurry during the evacuation of the nearby town of Pripyat. In the
Whoa.
middle, someone's propped up a doll sporting one of those gas masks.
Crazy.
You know, in case you weren't already going to have nightmares.
Yeah.
But for something that looks creepy initially, but
creepy.
actually isn't, check out this bizarre site in Santiago, Chile. It looks like a lazy attempt to dispose of some old Egyptian mummies when everyone knows mummies should be recycled. But being serious, it's actually a couple of trash bins full of old mannequins from a store.
you sure?
Not that that'd make it any less terrifying for anyone
Maybe there is one real body there, and they camouflaged it between everyone else.
unlucky enough to walk past them in the dark. On the topic
yeah,
of things
imagine
bearing
you
an
pass-
uncanny
pass-
resemblance to real
pass-
humans,
pass-
or in this case humanoids, check out this formation spotted in Antarctica.
Looks
The
like a
arrangement of
face.
wind-blown snowy mounds and icy crevices lends form to a very alien-looking face.
Yeah.
I can't help feeling like this would be a great location for the next Men in Black movie. What with its uncanny resemblance to this character from the franchise. Or maybe this particular Antarctic hill is actually mid-sneeze. Antarctica is pretty cold after all. What's the craziest thing you've done?
Oh my god, his cringe comments. It's like he would be Brian Texas Speech dad jokes on my TikTok. Literally, bro. That was cool though. Thanks so much for sharing. I enjoyed it.